My original plan was to learn a few things so that I could go out on the road and travel, but I wanted to be able to defend myself while I'm living in a van with my dog, my kid, But I fell in love with martial arts and now I kind of want to see where this thread leads. Choosing to dig my feet in and learn something and just stay in one place versus traveling and constantly be moving every 2 weeks or sometimes every 3 days, it's interesting how much deeper the relationships can be and how much more thought and effort and time I can put into my learning processes or to getting to know people or cultivating a career or a job that supports me. About a year after I originally posted that viral video that talked about putting cardboard up in my windows, I got a little spooked by how creepy some of the comments were, and it really solidified my desire to become a martial artist or at least just learn a couple of self defense moves. But after absolutely loving it and falling in love with this sport, of defending myself, I am now working towards becoming a professional fighter, and the people at Wasatch Combat Sports have helped me so much with my building my knowledge base and learning to become a performer essentially. They've become actual close friends that have encouraged me to figure out what it is that I actually want for my future. And they've given me more insight than I have ever had in how the fight game actually works, which is really nice because I don't know jack shit about this. I just know that I really am enjoying the way that it helps my body move. But if I want to become a professional fighter at all, I need to learn the ins and outs of performing, not just learning to play the instrument, but also learning how to perform. They encourage me to step outside of my comfort zone and follow through with what I say I'm gonna do. You can't really train completely isolated. You need other people to fine tune your skills. What the hell is a combat sport for if you're not using it against other people or with other people? You have to earn trust from other people by showcasing your consistency and your competency. And in turn, you learn to trust and depend on those people as well. Those people are there to help you prepare for whatever it is that you have planned. So if you're not correctly utilizing the people and the resources around you and being kind with your training partner, then you're not really going to get very far in your training.
Oh, you're gonna see this video, you're gonna, oh shit. That's what's happening.
Every opportunity that's come across my lap has been exciting and entertaining, and I'm just kind of rolling with the punches. I'm going with the flow, just trying to see where these things go and allowing myself to say yes to opportunities that I never once would have thought that I would have come across my lap. I have learned quite a few lessons, both in my physical training and also in my mental resilience and toughness. They often will mirror each other. This week is pain management. I am learning a very valuable lesson in pain management. About a month ago, I injured my back in a takedown drill and actually ended up herniating 4 discs, which at the beginning was absolutely excruciating. So I took off about 2 to 3 weeks ish just to lay around with a heating pad. I used a lacrosse ball or a foam roller to massage out my muscles because I was on bed rest for a long time. For me, that is so much time to not be moving my body and require a ton from myself. So I had a lot of jitteriness and like sore muscles, and not to mention the fact that I just got thrown into the floor on accident. We won't get into how it happened, but I got injured because, I was going too hard, and now all of a sudden I'm screeching to a stop, and I have to regulate myself in ways that are different from what I've been doing for the last couple of weeks, which is high amounts of exercise. So now I had to focus on regulating and recovering from an injury, and that was really hard. So after the last 2 weeks, I am feeling back up to some training. So I started my week off as I normally do by seeing Monica for an hour. We work on just some of the small things that she sees that I might need to work on. And recently, since hurting my back, I am feeling like no teeps, no sweeps, just kind of working through range of motion and seeing what I'm capable of without power, without speed, just balance and stability, essentially. Lately, my confidence has been getting better just as I have taken myself through the initial phase of training. Now that the acute stage is over, it's time to start my DIY therapy. So, with Monica, I always start with some intuitive stretching, some shadow boxing, and I just try to get myself warmed up a little bit. She watches and sees what I might need to focus on that will help me to do a little bit better in my sparring towards the end of the week. I feel like I have gone through a wormhole this week in all the things that I have learned because, yes, of course, I hurt my back. I am putting all of my pressure in my back instead of in my legs. My legs were on fire. She had me get really deep into my stance because apparently all of that pressure was in my back. So she had me doing what she calls the joystick method. We decided against hard kicks and sweeps and chose to focus on keeping my back strong while keeping my head off center and changing levels. It was a lot to focus on in 1 week. I felt like an absolute beginner again. And to be fair, I am an absolute beginner. But a lot of my recovery is regaining the confidence that I have or had in movement patterns previous to my injury and then just kind of reaffirming where I stand with that and continually trying to push the limits of what my range of motion is helping me to reestablish where my boundaries are. She showed me a lot of stuff during training that honestly I could sit here and unpack all of that. Maybe I will in the future, but I could unpack that all day long and go over my form, but I don't really want to give my opponents any more footage than they need to have. So let's just move on to we did a little bit of bag work because she was showing me how to continue doing this stuff at home. I wanted to do it at home, but instead I waited a couple of days because I was pretty damn sore after that. You know, my first day back at training, I was a little exhausted. I really just wanted to feel the pressure of the bag against myself and not feel like it was going to knock me off balance. You know, this injury may have actually been a huge blessing because when I'm mentally or physically broken is when I'm way more receptive to receiving new information and learning to do something in a more efficient way because obviously it didn't work this last time, so show me a different way to do it. And so this came at the perfect time. I was just barely warming up to Wasatch and then I hurt myself and now I'm in a point where I can receive information and criticism from Kani or Monica and know this will be for your betterment. This will help you to be a better fighter, kind of just drop what you thought you knew and let it go and try this way instead. And so Friday, I was able to just try those things out and see how they felt for me, get my head off center, work on changing levels with the bag. And it felt pretty good to find some sort of flow, or at least what I thought was a creative flow state. Part of professional athleticism is learning to recover from injuries that undoubtedly will happen, to bounce back from dehydration, fatigue, exhaustion, pain, damage, and defeat. How quickly and efficiently can we learn from our mistakes and move on and not make the same mistakes? So, in a way, I'm grateful to be at a level where the risk is high, but so is the reward. It actually only makes me want to try harder so that that reward is a little bit greater. If I do snap my spine, I want to get paid for that. Thanks. I'm pretty fresh off of my injury, so my brain still wanted to keep working, but my body was kind of tapping out. I went over to the racks and I started to do a bit of dynamic stretching with the bands, the resistance bands, which is one of my favorite ways to stretch myself out and also maybe even develop some plyometric training. By using the bands, I was able to simulate some resistance to help me in my balance training because I was feeling like just go really slow, stay really stable, practice getting yourself into that range of motion and then being able to get yourself out of it as well. I was able to play around with some isometric contraction, then at least attempt some explosive movement, but I felt too weak and gave up. But that's okay, because the next day, I feel like I was very well prepared for my training session with Christine. Now, Christine is somebody that I work with at Vasa. I love her. She is a goddess of a woman. First of all, because of her work ethic. She is somebody who regularly podiums at these massive mountain biking and cycling events. She's just so freaking cool. She sets goals and she crushes them. She's going to PT school. Like, she works long hours. Like, she's just really cool. And it's wonderful to be able to pick her brain about how I'm feeling, because sometimes it's about, for me, the getting the help that I need is about being able to communicate a physical sensation that I am experiencing to somebody in a way that uses intellectual words. So, the ability to craft the right sentence to correctly explain how I'm feeling is a hard feat, but she helps me to just bridge that gap so much better than a lot of other people I've ever trained with. So I love her, and her knowledge base is just phenomenal. I love her. Okay, sorry. Whew. So I told her about the spot that I was feeling in my back. It was kind of like my mid back on the inside of my rib cage where my psoas and my diaphragm meet. My erectors were kind of feeling not stretched enough, but I couldn't figure out how to stretch them without pain, without like support on something, but I also wanted to feel like it was my own muscles that were stretching me. So she put me through this stretch with a foam roller that I've never seen before, and that helped a lot. It really opened up my back and got me feeling just mobile. She had me doing some face pulls with the bands. Told you, those bands, they're really nice. So we pull out the bands, and she's telling me to keep the tension across my chest, like I am trying to spread this band horizontally, and then also pull my elbows into my pockets. And so it just like lit up that spot, the exact spot I was thinking of. But I also was feeling like the front side of my body was not holding enough tension. And if you look at like some of the video footage that I have of myself right now, I am so bloated in the abdomen. That was some serious trauma, and I feel like there's like a lot of bruising and swelling inside of my body, on the inside of my spine, which it's probably exactly what's happening. You sprain your ankle and you get bruising, and it's like discolored and sore for a couple weeks after, right? So I imagine that's exactly what happened with my spine. So what we were doing was balance and stability exercises first to help me establish some sense of confidence in what my body could do. And then we would take it through the range of motion, doing something that I felt confident in repetitively and just nailing it over and over again until I started getting to a point where I started to exhaust a little bit, and then we'd stop, or I would hold an isometric contraction, just like pausing in where I felt weak in the range of motion and then continuing with reps if needed, or just stopping and taking a break and resuming later. I feel like this is the best way that I have found to build up strength and endurance. So, this is something that we work on in our training sessions together with me and Christine. So we did a lot of the RDL movement as well, trying to focus on the deep activation of my core, not just the rectus abdominis. I wanted to get transverse abdominis and the muscles on the inside of my back as well, those hip flexors being engaged, and really lifting my sacrum up instead of sitting in my hip. What's been really fascinating to see is my change in the level of confidence I've had in my abilities over the last year. Like, I started in a gym where nobody was taking rest days and everybody was ignoring their self care. Everyone was falling apart. They also didn't encourage each other to look at their before and afters or to work with your injuries safely and at whatever pace feels good for you. I didn't have that in my last gym. I have that now, and my training has gone through the roof, way past anything that I ever thought I was capable of. And I am so happy to have you here on this journey with me while I figure out what the hell I want to do with this training that I'm getting. I just know that I'm feeling passionate and excited and just lit up about learning it. And I don't even know what to be embarrassed of at this point. So let me show you how my sparring is going. This first week that I was working with everybody else, I didn't quite want to spar, so it was just light touch. I could not take heavy pressure, so I was asking everybody for like their 20%. And so I feel like my sparring this week, it was interesting to see me finally start to get my head off center, but I still was not quite grasping the angles as much as I would like to. But the more I practiced, the more comfortable it felt to work around this body in front of me instead of just having like a 2dimensional version of fighting, like Street Fighter in my head or whatever. Like, there's some 3D-ness to it, and it's finally clicking, I think. Y'all, the fact that every November I have this like crazy update of like, hey, this much has changed in my life. I am so interested to see what this next November brings. Last year, I just barely finished my move across the US, and now this year, I am training to become a professional MMA fighter. That's pretty freaking cool. So follow along, guys. Hit subscribe. Also, the bell icon. That way, you're notified every time that I make a post. So that way, you can stay in the loop. Don't lose out on where the hell I'm at with my training. I want to build a community that helps me to progress, and if I can help you in any way, I hope I can. So, if you followed me a while ago hoping to get travel content, I'm sorry. I will be holding off on that for a hot minute. I've got my feet planted over here in Utah trying to study martial arts so that I can become a professional fighter eventually. Then who knows, maybe I may take this on the road and you get to follow me for travel content still. Let's see where this goes. So, one day at a time. Thank you all. I'll see you next week. Enjoy your week. Get lots of rest. Make sure you're drinking water and getting some protein. See you next time.
I'm red, he's green.
Hey! You're almost gonna get mine.
Go!
Guess what?
Turn on!
What egg? Boy! Awful machine. You awful machine. How about I can do it with my shoe?
Oh, we done. 150. And 90. Way to get it from last time.
Let's play it again.